Just moments before bullets were set to fly, a cow walked straight into the line of fire, leaving armed men frozen, confused, and exposed. This was no accident. What happened next not only saved President Ibrahim Traoré's life, but shocked the entire military. Stay right here because what you're about to see will make you question whether it was a coincidence or a miracle. The brown cow stood motionless in the middle of the dusty road, its chipped horns silhouetted against the golden African sunrise. Not 20 feet away, President Ibrahim Traoré watched through the bulletproof glass of his SUV as a soldier fired a warning shot into the air. The crack of gunfire echoed across the savannah, startling birds from nearby acacia trees. But the cow remained still as stone. Its deep brown eyes seemed fixed on the presidential convoy with an almost human intelligence. Another soldier raised, his rifle aiming directly at the animal this time. "Stop," Ibrahim commanded through the window. "Don't harm it." The early morning sun cast long shadows across eastern Burkina Faso's landscape as Ibrahim Traoré sipped the last of his spiced tea beside his black SUV. At 58, the president carried himself with the quiet dignity that had earned him respect across West Africa and beyond. Today's schedule was tight. A visit to a rural youth center where hundreds of young people had prepared for weeks, rehearsing traditional dances and crafting speeches about their hopes for a self-sufficient Africa. Mr. President said Massoud, his closest advisor of 15 years, approaching with an electronic tablet. "If we take the main road through Fada, we'll arrive 2 hours behind schedule. But there's a shortcut through the bush. Very quiet. No villages. We could be there in under 40 minutes. Ibrahim raised an eyebrow. "Is the road secure?" "Yes." "Sir?" Massoud nodded quickly, his tailored suit impeccable despite the 85-degree heat. "Our security team cleared it yesterday. I personally oversaw the operation." Omar, Ibrahim's chief of security, stepped forward. His weathered face betrayed concern. "With respect, sir, I've never liked that road. Too isolated. If something happened, we'd be miles from help." Ibrahim glanced at his watch. A simple timepiece, not the gold luxury brands favored by other leaders. The young people were waiting. Resources were limited. Every gallon of fuel mattered in a country still fighting for economic independence. "We'll take the shortcut," he decided, "but double the lead security vehicle's distance. Any sign of trouble, we turned back immediately." The 5-vehicle convoy rolled out, raising clouds of rust-cold dust. 2 armored trucks led the way, followed by the president's SUV with 2 more security vehicles bringing up the rear. The narrow road cut through tall dry grass that reached over 6 feet high on both sides. No farms, no goat herders, no smoke from cooking fires, just silence. Ibrahim watched the landscape through his window, noting how starkly beautiful his country was. Burkina Faso, land of incorruptible people, had seen its share of struggle since gaining independence from France in 1960. Yet the spirit of its people remained unbroken. It was this spirit he sought to nurture with every policy decision, every rural visit. Half an hour into the journey, the convoy slowed abruptly. Through the windshield, Ibrahim saw the lead vehicle stopped. In the center of the dirt road stood a large brown cow, its lean frame suggesting it had survived many harsh seasons. The animal stood perfectly still, seemingly oblivious to the approaching vehicles. "Just a stray," said the driver. "It'll move when we get closer." But it didn't. As the lead security truck approached, the cow remained fixed in place. The driver honked. Nothing. One of the guards stepped out, waving his arms and shouting, "Move, higher, higher." Still nothing. When firing a warning shot failed to startle the animal, tension grew palpable inside the president's vehicle. "Sir," Massoud said with poorly concealed impatience, "we're losing valuable time. Let's simply drive around it." Ibrahim studied the cow. Something felt wrong. In his 30 years of public service, he'd developed an instinct for danger that had saved his life more than once. "No," he said firmly. "Omar, send 2 men to check. Beneath the cow." "The ground beneath the cow, sir?" Omar asked, confusion evident. "Yes, now." 2 guards approached cautiously, rifles ready. One knelt down, examining the dirt where the cow stood. Suddenly, he jumped back, signaling frantically to his colleagues. "Mr. President," he called out, "there's something here. A wire, very thin, barely visible." The convoy froze. Security personnel swarmed the area, following the wire's path. Omar's voice came through the radio, tight with controlled panic. "Sir, we've confirmed 3 anti-vehicle mines planted in sequence. They would have detonated directly beneath your SUV." Ibrahim stepped out slowly despite Omar's protests. He walked forward until he could see the nearly invisible wire gleaming faintly in the morning light, a tripwire that would have triggered devastating explosions. His eyes moved from the deadly devices to the cow, still standing calmly above them. "How long have these been here?" he asked, his voice steady, despite the revelation that he had nearly been assassinated. "Recent, sir," said Omar, pointing to fresh boot prints beside the buried mines. "The soil is still loose. These weren't here yesterday when the route was supposedly cleared." Ibrahim turned to Masood, whose forehead now glistened with sweat despite the morning breeze. "We were originally scheduled to take the main road through Fada," Ibrahim said quietly. "Why did you insist on this shortcut?" I just thought we'd save time," Masood stammered, his composure cracking. "You mentioned being concerned about punctuality." Omar stepped closer, his hand moving subtly toward his sidearm. "This route isn't even on the official travel rotation, yet you claim to personally oversee its clearance." Ibrahim observed his longtime advisor with new eyes, noting the slight tremor in his hands, the way his gaze darted toward the vehicles rather than meeting his president's stare. After 3 decades in politics, Ibrahim had learned to recognize the face of betrayal. "Who knew we would take this road today, Masood?" he asked, his voice low but piercing. Before Masood could answer, the radio on Omar's belt crackled. "Sir, satellite phone activity detected from within our convoy. Signal encrypted. Foreign routing." Ibrahim's face hardened. "Search everyone, every vehicle, every device. As security, personnel moved to execute the order." The cow finally shifted. It turned its head, looking directly into Ibrahim's eyes with an intensity that sent a chill down his spine. For a fleeting moment, the president felt as though he were being seen by something ancient and knowing, something that had intervened at precisely the right moment. From Masood's pocket came a faint vibration. Omar reached in and extracted a satellite phone unlike any government-issued device. On its screen, a message glowed ominously. "Is it done?" In a sleek conference room 4,000 miles away, 3 men in expensive suits watched live satellite imagery on a wall of high-definition screens. The center display showed a frozen image of President Ibrahim Traoré's halted convoy on a dusty road. A British accented voice broke the tense silence. "We've lost contact with Masood. The asset is compromised." A silver-haired man with cold eyes drummed his fingers on the polished mahogany table. "Unacceptable. We've invested $2 million in this operation." He reached for a secure phone. "Activate Plan B. The old man has lived long enough." Back in Burkina Faso, the midday sun beat down mercilessly as bomb disposal experts worked methodically to disarm the 3 anti-vehicle mines. The temperature had climbed to nearly 100 degrees, but Ibrahim Traoré stood motionless, watching Masood being questioned by Omar 30 yards away. The advisor's body language told its own story. Shoulders slumped, head bowed, the posture of a man whose secrets had been exposed. At the National Security Headquarters in Ouagadougou, Amara Dio hunched over multiple computer screens. At 32, she was the youngest director of cybersecurity in the country's history, recruited personally by Ibrahim after she had helped identify a major hacking attempt against the National Bank. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she analyzed suspicious signals detected from the presidential convoy. "Something isn't right," she muttered to her team. "This isn't amateur hour. These transmission patterns match known signatures from the Langley Group." Omar's voice crackled through her secure line. "The president has ordered a complete sweep of all vehicles and personnel devices. We need remote support." "Already on it," Amara replied, Initiating deep scan protocols. Check the lead vehicle first. I'm detecting an unusual power drain consistent with an unauthorized tracking device. Ibrahim watched as his security team methodically dismantled the interior of each vehicle. Years of leadership had taught him patience, even when facing betrayal. He studied Masoud's face, the same man who had attended his children's graduations, who had stood beside him through drought relief efforts and mining reform negotiations. "Sir?" a security officer called, holding up a small black device found beneath the dashboard of the lead SUV. GPS tracker with live transmission capability. Simultaneously, Omar emerged from questioning Masoud, his expression grim. "Mr. President, we found this in his inner pocket." He held up a specialized satellite phone in an evidence bag. Military raw encryption. Ibrahim approached Masoud, stopping, just 3 FT away. Between them hung 30 years of what Ibrahim had believed was friendship. "Why?" he asked simply. Masoud's eyes finally met his. "They approached me 6 months ago. Said they only wanted information at first. Then it became more." His voice cracked. "They paid $200,000 into my Swiss account. Said you would only be frightened, not harmed. That a close call would make you more cooperative regarding the new mining agreements." "Who is they?" Ibrahim pressed. "I never saw faces, only a company name. Continental Resource Partners." Ibrahim recognized it immediately. A multinational conglomerate that had been aggressively pursuing rights to Burkina Faso's newly discovered lithium deposits. His administration had recently introduced legislation requiring 60% of mining profits to remain within the country, a policy that had enraged foreign investors. "There's more," Masoud whispered, his voice barely audible. "I'm not the only one. They have someone closer to you, someone you trust completely." Before I could respond, Amar's urgent voice came through Omar's radio. "Emergency alert. We've detected an unauthorized transmission coming from within the inner security circle. Signal origin it's coming from Ahmed's watch." The world seemed to tilt beneath Ibrahim's feet. Ahmed, his personal driver for 12 years, the man who had driven his children to school, who had been with the family through illness and celebration. Omar quietly signaled 2 officers who immediately moved to detain Ahmed. No resistance came, only a look of resigned defeat crossed the driver's face. "Bring him here," Ibrahim ordered, his voice steady despite the expanding circle of betrayal. Under questioning, Ahmed broke quickly. "They reached out 3 months ago, threatened my brother's family in France, said they'd lose their asylum status unless I cooperated." His eyes filled with tears. "I only agreed to share your schedule. I didn't know about the mines, I swear it." Back at headquarters, Amara made another discovery. "Mr. President, we've recovered fragments of deleted communications. Listen to this." A recorded voice played through the secure line. "Traoré has become too powerful a symbol. His resource nationalism is spreading to Mali, Niger, even Ghana. If he succeeds, the entire extraction model for West Africa is at risk. This cannot happen." Ibrahim processed this information in silence. The attempt on his life wasn't merely about Burkina Faso's resources. It was about preventing a Pan-African movement that threatened decades of foreign exploitation. As night fell, Ibrahim received troubling news. 3 sophisticated attempts to breach the presidential palace's computer systems had been detected within the past hour. Someone was scrambling to cover their tracks. Meanwhile, in a village 10 miles from the ambush site, local farmers reported finding the mysterious brown cow. The animal bore an unusual mark, a small triangular burn on its right horn that elders claimed was the sigil of the ancestors. "Mr. President," said one of Ibrahim's cultural advisors, "there's something you should know about this mark. In our oldest traditions, it appears on messengers between worlds, creatures sent to protect those chosen to lead our people to freedom." Ibrahim watched the sunset paint the horizon blood red. On his secure tablet, intelligence reports flowed in from allies across the continent. On a distant server, a new command appeared: activate all contingencies. Television screens across Burkina Faso simultaneously switched to the national flag, as a solemn announcement echoed through living rooms, market squares, and village gathering places. The president will address the nation at 8 p.m. All citizens are encouraged to tune in for this message of critical importance. By afternoon, the mysterious cow had become a national symbol. Artists painted its silhouette on mud walls. Young people wore hastily printed t-shirts with number guardian cow. Social media buzzed with testimonials about divine protection and national destiny. 6,000 mi away in a Manhattan skyscraper, executives of Continental Resource Partners monitored news feeds with growing concern. "This is spiraling beyond containment," muttered the silver-haired CEO, loosening his $500 silk tie. "Our shareholders? Meeting is in 3 days. What am I supposed to tell them? That a cow disrupted a $2 million operation?" At the presidential palace in Ouagadougou, security had tripled. Elite forces patrolled the perimeter while counter-surveillance experts swept every room hourly. Ibrahim sat alone in his office, handwriting his address, while intelligence reports flowed in. His normally tidy desk was covered with evidence binders, transcripts, financial transfers, and surveillance photos documenting the conspiracy against him. "Sir," Amara reported, entering after a respectful knock, "we've decoded the remaining files from Masoud's devices. The operation wasn't just about lithium rights. There's a comprehensive strategy targeting 5 African nations with resource nationalism policies." Ibrahim nodded, unsurprised, and the international reaction mixed. 7 ambassadors are demanding immediate meetings. Western media is calling it alleged assassination claims. But across Africa, her voice brightened. "Leaders are standing with you. Mali, Niger, Tanzania, all have issued statements of support." Meanwhile, in the village where the cow had been discovered, hundreds gathered with offerings of millet and fresh water. Elders performed traditional blessings, treating the animal with reverence typically reserved for sacred objects. When approached, the cow remained calm, accepting the attention with the same steady gaze that had stopped the presidential convoy. At precisely 8 p.m., Ibrahim Traoré appeared on national television. He wore no military decorations, only a simple traditional shirt that reflected his connection to ordinary citizens. His familiar face, bearing new lines of concern but undiminished resolve, filled screens across the nation. "My fellow Burkinabe citizens of Africa, and those watching from across the world," he began, his deep voice steady. "Today I stand before you having narrowly escaped an assassination attempt, not from rebels or extremists, but from those who arrive in our country in business suits, offering handshakes with one hand while arranging our destruction with the other." With methodical precision, Ibrahim presented the evidence. The buried mines, the surveillance devices, the intercepted communications, and the confessions of those involved. Sometimes the smallest moments in life echo with the loudest meaning. In the chaos of political threats, assassination plots, and undercover enemies, the last thing anyone expected was for a cow to stand between life and death. But in that one surreal moment, something extraordinary happened. A simple creature, often overlooked, underestimated, and unarmed, became a barrier between evil and leadership. That single unexpected interruption was enough to expose the hidden shooters, stall the planned attack, and allow security forces to regain control of the situation. President Ibrahim Traoré, known for his bravery and grassroots leadership, had survived multiple threats before, but this time was different. This time, no weapon, no strategy, and no human guard could have protected him the way that cow did. Some called it fate. Others believed it was a sign from a higher power, and some simply could not believe their eyes. In the aftermath, questions flooded in. Who trained the cow? Was it coincidence or coordination? But when officials traced the origin, they found nothing unusual. No connection, no clue, no answer. Just one fact remained. The cow came out of nowhere and disappeared just as mysteriously. This story became more than just a strange tale of survival. It became a symbol. In villages and cities across Burkina Faso, people whispered the story like folklore. Children repeated it like legend. Supporters of President Traoré began calling the event the day nature spoke. And in a world where leaders often rely on armies, power, and politics, this moment reminded everyone of something else: humility. Sometimes, the universe chooses the most unexpected ways to protect those walking the right path. Sometimes, protection does not wear a uniform. Sometimes, miracles wear hooves. President Traoré never dismissed the incident. In his next public speech, he paused and simply said, "Not all heroes carry weapons. Some walk on four legs." The world took notice. International news outlets rushed to cover the story. Memes, poems, songs, even spiritual interpretations began surfacing. Some said it was a lesson in divine timing. Others believed it was a metaphor for how even the voiceless can protect the powerful when intentions are pure. But one thing became clear. Whether you believe in miracles, destiny, or randomness, that cow changed the course of a nation's story. And perhaps, just perhaps, the universe was reminding us all that the power to protect, to shield, and to change history doesn't always come from where we expect it. Sometimes it comes quietly, gently, and on four legs. So next time you hear someone scoff at fate or laugh at faith, tell them the story of the cow that saved a president. Because in a world full of noise, that silent moment spoke louder than words ever could. Do you want the thumbnail prompt or title enhancement next?